Hello and welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock, and we're closing out the week with the latest news in mixed martial arts, including exclusive comments from Paige Van Zandt. The UFC sets their sights on another spot on the map, and we have a new light heavyweight bout for Fox in Sweden. Phil Davis and Ryan Bader are official for the UFC on Fox 14 card on January the 24th in Stockholm, Sweden, on the same card where Alexander Gustafsson and Anthony Johnson will headline the card. Bader has won his last 3 fights, with his most recent win coming in August over Ovin St. Preux, while Davis is coming off a dominant win over Glover Teixeira at UFC 179 this past October. The UFC appears to be close to announcing a television deal in Russia. Gary Cook, who is the UFC's chief global brand officer, appeared on the MMA Hour this past week and said the deal is close and will put them in close to 55 million homes, with the intention of eventually running an event in the country. Other countries that the promotion is looking to run in 2015 for the first time include Poland and Holland. One of the biggest stories coming out of last weekend's UFC Fight Night card in Austin, Texas, was the fight of the night between Paige Van Zandt and Kylan Curran. Van Zandt has been thrust into the spotlight and believed to have superstar potential among the 115-pound weight class, and she spoke with me this week on the MMA Report, chatting about making a successful UFC debut at the age of 20.
Oh gosh, I'm just so thankful that, I did get a finish, which is exciting, which is always exciting, but I never thought in my wildest dreams that after my first UFC fight I would get so much publicity and I would get so much support from my fans and so many new fans. And I'm just excited to be a part of such a great corporation such as the UFC, and hopefully next time they'll put me on the main card, or fingers crossed for just not Fight Pass next time. But I think everything turned out great, and I'm excited to see where my future goes from here.
All right, and we are joined by the usual suspects. If you don't know who they are, that's why we have name tags right below them. Coming up this weekend, nothing. Is anyone else as excited as I am?
I am indeed, because I'm anticipating Robbie Lawler and Johnny Hendricks and Gil Melendez.
You can digest all of it and get ready for next week.
That's it.
And look forward to next weekend. You don't have 85 fights to watch beforehand.
I will never complain about too many fights. Never, ever, 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 ever. But
glass half full, Robin Black.
It is a glass like almost totally full, like one drop came out of it. But it is kind of cool, though. Like, we started talking about, say, on Monday's show, we start talking about Robbie Lawler. We start talking about Johnny Hendricks. We get to talk about it for a week. You get to think about it a little
Marinate.
deeper. Yeah, you know, picture it more. We were in Montreal, talked to Faraz and George about it a little bit. We're out, talked to some other people. You start to really get more invested in a fight when you have more time to digest it.
And this is a deep card that deserves to have that focus. And it's a lot of people, I think they really get into the habit where it's the Wednesday before a card. They're like, oh, look what's happening. And you don't have that sense of anticipation that I'm sure all of you can relate to a decade ago, when you'd have 2 months where a fight's announced, and man, I couldn't wait to see Randy Couture and Tito Ortiz.
Every possible variable going
But on top of that, you look at this card, especially 181, and the main event is just so ridiculously good. Robbie Lawler and Johnny Hendricks.
And they have history.
That's right. But the plan is, every time we have a show, it's like, okay, we're going to talk about the main event and the co-main event, but the main event is so good that it takes up the whole block. And when we try to get to the co-main event,
of Todd Duffy.
Exactly. How do you get to? You know, we're talking about Travis Brown on the card, Brendan Schaub on the card. It is so loaded that you just
Uriah Faber
on the card.
His new home, the headline of the prelims.
Yeah, so strange. The Uriah Faber, to me,
he
is
doesn't
a star.
care.
He doesn't care. It's good for him.
Sure, but
and right now it's like, just keep me busy. And they're like, who are you fighting? I don't know who I'm fighting, but throw me on the top of the undercard. FS1 will be like, the television partner will be happy. I think it makes sense. He's kind of in a holding pattern. He's kind of in there fighting, making money, staying in shape, training the other guys, waiting for something to change in the old title picture, and fighting dudes.
Yeah, it's strange though, but I think Uriah Faber is one of these guys that can be utilized as a star, as a main event fighter on some of their fight night shows. You give Uriah Faber a matchup like Frankie Edgar, some big name guys. I know Frankie's at 145 pounds, but I mean, Uriah Faber
couldn't fight at 145.
Couldn't fight at 145 pounds. You give him the right money, you give him the right fights. Uriah Faber is a guy that you can rely on.
it goes back to that argument we always discuss, the fact that, the UFC, they want a really strong pay-per-view because that's where their biggest revenue's coming from. But Fox is paying them this, and Fox wants a stadium show in January in Sweden. But Fox Sports 1, they want to have name value for their portion of the prelims. They don't care about the pay-per-view. And you have all these individual islands, but the UFC has to accommodate all these islands.
Sure, but I mean, you look at Uriah Faber does not need to be on this card. Robbie Lawler, Johnny Hendricks, Gil Melendez versus Anthony Pettis. That is enough. You don't have to give the fans shit after that. But
I'm saying an empty undercard in Fox Sports 1 is...
They're unhappy.
They're the ones unhappy about
sure,
that.
You can give... they'll be satisfied. It just has to be the right matchup with an interesting enough main event. Uriah Faber does not need to be used in this capacity.
I want to fast forward to 2015, two big countries that the UFC is targeting. We heard Gary Cook mentioning Russia. They're very close to a TV deal. And already they have announced Poland. And I know you guys have. Let's start with Poland, because you guys call KSW right here on Fight Network. Make sure you catch it. Will the UFC have a difficult time navigating into Poland when there is not only an established promotion, but a very successful one?
Well, it depends. Number one, there's a hardcore community. So the people that go to the KSW show, a lot of them, they've followed the UFC for years, so they're definitely going to go there. The infrastructure's there. And I think that, yes, because KSW has educated the people, I think we're going to see a lot of people go there. But it's going to be difficult to afterwards. Like for them to come back, KSW is such a slick product with awesome fights that the UFC, if they come in there, they're going to have to deliver.
KSW's next event is in the stadium. They have the #1 watched television program, not fight show, not sporting event. They get #1 in the ratings on TV. They get World Cup soccer numbers. Like, they are huge. Arguably, KSW in Poland is bigger than the UFC is in America. Like, in Poland, it's massive. The fights are amazing. Check it out, man. Calling awesome. KSW, chatting with you guys and doing 5 rounds stuff, we love our job, but calling KSW every week is like the greatest thing in the world. The fights are mind-blowing.
And you and I were in Russia for M1. You saw how many people were there, so it's going to be the same thing, but they have to deliver. If they come in, they have to deliver an outstanding product because the infrastructure is there.
These fans, they're used to Satoshi Ishii, Jeff Monson main event.
That's true.
But that crowd capacity for that night show that we went to in Russia last year. Lots of interesting places on the map that the UFC is targeting for 2015. Make sure you catch KSW with these two, and Fight News Now Extra is coming up.